It's time for the King Louie OG and Slimeboat Jones Slimecast.
Novocaine. Wait a minute. What in the hell is a Dovahkiin? You youngsters need to fill me in, because as far as I'm concerned, you replaced the D with an S and an L, and you got exactly what I was doing with your mother last night.
The Elder Scrolls, to me, is probably... I can't definitively say my favorite game series of all time, but without question, top 3, and by far, for what I play and what I enjoy, probably the most influential game series for my portfolio, as it were. Slime, we're here doing episode 5 of the Slimecast. This is King Louie OG. And we're getting right into it. Elder Scrolls series. Slime, feelings, opinions, memories? Where are you starting?
Elder Scrolls to me is, like you said, maybe not my favorite game series, but definitely the game series, like the whole franchise added up, definitely the game series that I have spent the most hours actually playing. So for me, it holds a very special place in my heart. I remember seeing Oblivion for the first time at my buddy's house. I think I was in middle school, maybe freshman year of high school, I'm not sure. And I remember it blowing my mind. It was one of those games that like opened up my eyes. It was like the first time I saw Fable, blew my mind. I see Oblivion. It's like, I didn't even have a 360, I don't think, at that point. I was so jealous. It made me want to get a 360. And, yeah, I remember having a lot of fun with that, and when Skyrim came out, it was a whole nother level. So definitely not my favorite game series, but I spent so many hours playing it. There's so much to do. There's so many options. It's amazing.
So it's funny that you say your first memories are of Oblivion. So I actually have a pretty funny story of, I think this is like, because we had a group of friends that were like our friends, and we hadn't necessarily hung out as much yet at this point when this is like middle school range, but we had the same friends, and then eventually we would end up hanging out more later on down the road. But I was hanging out with our friend Green Machine, and we were at my house, and we were probably playing Halo or whatever, and then so like he was over for the night, and we ended up watching South Park, the World of Warcraft episode.
A classic.
And like that
one of the best episodes.
That got me so jazzed to play like a medieval, like I was like actually considering getting World of Warcraft, but then I like found out it was subscription like per month, and as a middle schooler I didn't have that money, so I could get one game, and like that was all. So we went, actually, Green Machine was still with me and my mom the next day for however long. Maybe we were going to drop him off down after this, because again, middle school, we didn't have our own cars. And we went to the GameStop by our Walmart in our town. And I was, looking around as like, oh yeah, I can't do World of Warcraft. And then I saw the cover of Oblivion. And I don't know why, because if you know the cover of Oblivion, it's just the symbol and like the tan color background.
Yeah, nothing that actually indicates what it is.
And I don't know why, but I grabbed that and flipped it over to the back and read whatever the description was, and it shows, I think, the Khajiit with like a long sword on the back. I'm not sure. So I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of right what I was looking for. And then so I was like, all right, yeah, Ma, this is the one. I'm going to get this one. And little would I, know that the PC that we're currently recording this on right now, I have because I wanted to mod Oblivion. And I got into PC gaming because I wanted to mod Oblivion. Like, it's very, like, circumstance driven moment, but it ended up, like I said, influencing what I've been playing for the past 15 years, literally 15 years.
Yeah, it's funny when you say that Oblivion really got you into modding and getting you into building the PC. Same thing happened to me with Skyrim. It was that was the game where I said, okay, I like it enough. You can get it on PC. You can mod it. Had enough to do that really made it worth it to build a whole computer to play one game.
Right.
That's really saying something.
Right.
I had no problem doing that. And modding is. I remember there was a period of time, and I had to learn how to mod Skyrim from King Louis, and he helped me build my first computer. Actually, some side story.
I almost dropped a leg on the computer.
Yeah,
too.
he almost did a leg drop on my computer, and still an inside joke to this day. Skyrim. Oh man, really awesome to mod. There was periods of time where we had 200 mods on running at once. So we had all these patches, and we did the wire bash and all that, which I still don't fully understand all that, but
yeah,
but awesome. But I liked. It was interesting. I started modding Skyrim, and I had played Oblivion, which really got me into it. Loved Skyrim. I remember going to the midnight release.
Yeah.
I think you were there.
No, I'll get into that because
Yeah.
I have a pretty good memory. I remember vividly.
Yeah. But it was interesting because it made me want to go back and play Oblivion again and mod that too, which is a whole different beast. It's a little bit easier, a little bit harder in some respects. And I actually went back and I played Morrowind, which, I couldn't beat. I played the living hell out of Oblivion, played the living hell out of Skyrim. Morrowind, I got through enough to be okay, I experienced it, I played it. I know
I'm in the same boat. It's hard to go back and
I
play.
went back and I modded it, and it made it a little bit better. I got a little bit farther, and I said, okay, I got what I wanted out of it. And I even went back and I played Daggerfall. I think I got it on my laptop or something for free. I think our friend helped me download it, and that was cool. It has it's interesting. It kind of loses features over time, in each game series,
right.
Because it's more complex. They really give more detail into the things that are there, but there's less things. If you go back,
right.
you can they had a lot more options with clothing and
RPG elements.
More RPG elements where you can have stuff underneath. They had multiple quests, but the quality of all that was obviously less.
Right.
So it's just interesting seeing that evolution over time.
Well, that's with any game series. You go back with Mass Effect 1 through and how RPG it was, and then Mass Effect 3, it was basically a shooter.
Yeah, the mechanics got better and better and better, and it got a little less JRPG
right.
and more, not JRPG,
so
a little less RPG.
That's a
more,
common. That's a common thread. Look at Fallout is in the same vein, and then there's also in that same breath, there's because Oblivion and Skyrim were so successful and have dominated. As long as they did was because of their open worldness, and then all of a sudden every game was open world. Which there's another bleeding effect from Oblivion and Skyrim, and then Fallout 3 because Bethesda then got the rights and used the same engine as Oblivion, and that's why As far as that night where we were at the midnight release, that's our.
This is for Skyrim.
This is for Skyrim. 11/11/11 for obviously. I had the next day I pretended that we had to go and see my sister, so I called out. We were working at the same place at the time, funnily enough,
yeah.
and so it was us and a group of friends who were there together. It was the two of us. I'm pretty sure Green Machine and Blue. I know Blue was there.
Blue was there and Green Machine were there.
And then their third friend, who he doesn't really have a nickname, so I don't really want to say his name. I called him Spider-Man a lot.
Spider-Man. I don't know.
Yeah, you weren't in the Xbox Live parties a lot in those days.
I could never afford Xbox Live Gold. I always had the silver, so I couldn't be in the party, but I could do the one-on-one chat.
Yeah,
and I had Gold when I was really big into Halo and stuff like that, but I didn't always have it.
So it was our other friend who I'll just call Spider-Man, and I'm pretty sure our friend Dunk was there.
Yeah,
with
Dunk was there too.
His two friends.
Yeah, I remember seeing the guy get his head cut off like they had
Right,
it, like,
that's what I'm saying.
That blew me away.
There was literally in this was a bigger GameStop. So there was a line that actually was going out the door for the midnight release, and we were somewhere in the middle, like early on, middle, like not quite at the front, but not too deep, and we were at the perfect spot for the guy who was playing it. He was playing it on the PS3. He was playing the not demo. He just like loaded the
intro,
game onto the PS3, and he just started the game. And a bunch of our Spider-Man, I think, turned around. He's like, "Nope, I don't want to see it." And then we all just watched.
Yeah,
It's
didn't
like,
want any spoilers
because because we played Oblivion like so much, we knew we were going to see that beginning over and over and over again. Anyone who's ever played Skyrim has gotten the mod to like not see the beginning again because you've seen it so many times. So it was like it was no skin off my back to watch it, and I was so glad we did because we're standing there in line getting ready to grab hold of the game that we would like. I remember there was like a supernatural occurrence the day that they announced it, like because this is back before there was a lot of dirt sheets for video games. So like when a game was announced, like through IGN or whatever news publication, like that was the first time you're really hearing of it. It's like the insiders knew it was being worked on, and like certain people knew it was being worked on, but it wasn't everywhere. Like there wasn't YouTube channels dedicated.
Yeah, it was less pervasive. The news was less pervasive.
So I don't know what it was a supernatural occurrence. I woke up. I think it must have been like 2-something in the morning, just to like take a drink of water or maybe go to the bathroom. And for whatever reason, I grabbed my phone, and it was 30 minutes ago. IGN Elder Scrolls V announced. And I couldn't believe it. I literally, in the middle of the night, I messaged every one of my friends on Facebook who I knew would care. So like they would wake up to it. And it was like perfect. Like and then we're sitting there watching it being played, and I'm about to have my hands on it. It was great times.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Movie magic right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the guy got, the beheadings, and then you watch the dragon attack, and because we were playing Oblivion like right up until the day before getting ready, it's like dragons in the game. What an addition. Like it's funny to look back 10 years now, and it's like, oh yeah, dragons, but it was like at the time when the dragons were new, oh man, those were cool battles.
I think Skyrim made dragons really popular for a period of time. Like I don't know, like right after Skyrim, Game of Thrones got really big, and that had the dragons, and it's like they kind of were similar in like aesthetic and appeal, and they had that same thing going on, so they kind of like fed off of each other's popularity. So it definitely made dragons cool for a period of time, and they're still cool, but when you go look back at them, like the way that they're scripted and everything is obviously aged, but at the time, whew.
Yeah, which is why you say that they've aged. It's funny that they just put a bat skin over it for Fallout 76.
Oh well, that was just a slap in the face.
Yeah, that's.
And we'll get into that.
That's good old clean fun.
Yeah, that'll be another episode.
But as far as Morrowind, as you were saying, you had to go back and play it. Now we have another friend that I don't know what to call him, but I'll just call him. You hung out with him in the tree fort a whole bunch. Him and his girlfriend.
Okay. I have a terrible memory, guys, so I don't know who he's talking about.
Because we never had a nickname. We would just call him by his name, so I don't want to, say any names on here. But anyway, he played Morrowind, I remember.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know
who you're talking about.
Not the funny one. Not the Eddie. Not him.
Okay, then I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he had the old Mercedes, I think, was his car.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know exactly who I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember talking to him like freshman year, or even in middle school, like because he had played Morrowind when it was out, like for the original Xbox, and we were talking about Oblivion. He's like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I love Oblivion, but now I go back and play Morrowind still." And I was like, "Oh, word, Morrowind, that was before Oblivion. Cool, I'll look into that." And I didn't really end up trying to play it until later when I built my PC for Oblivion and then started modding. And it's just like it's hard to go back and play. Like I played for like a half hour and was like, yeah, it's hard to go back and play because it's just so archaic.
I don't think it's too bad. When I went back and modded it, the one thing that if you started with Oblivion or if you started with Skyrim, the one thing that's really hard to get over is the fact that in Morrowind, the chance to hit is the dice roll. So you're not doing damage every time and a little less when you have low stamina like in Skyrim. Sometimes you're swinging and not hitting. And if you don't set up your stats right and you don't have the right equipment, you'll literally miss it. You can't even beat a rat because you'll be missing so much and not actually hitting. So if you're not used to it and you don't know how to set up your stats, you don't understand the game. It's punishing if you don't know.
That's why I like it's. You talk about the dice roll mechanics. I love Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is dice roll mechanics, but it's built in a way that
is more intuitive.
It's more intuitive. It's designed.
It's
not an open world game. It's not like you're not spending hours walking from place to place like you can in Morrowind, where if you're going to have a dice roll combat, like adding all of this, there's fast travel in Knights of the Old Republic. It came out the same year as Morrowind, I believe, or maybe 6 months earlier, year before, whatever it was, right around the same time, and it's. The fact that it's just so much more intuitive, in not only the way you travel, but the way that the mechanics are, like you said, you miss, sure, you miss in any RPG, you miss in Pokemon, whatever, but it's still, you're still able to beat enemies that are easy no matter what. You're still able to compete, if you have a full team of guys and you're ready to go. Whereas in Morrowind, like you said, if you don't set your stats and you don't have the right equipment, it's ultimately too punishing. And if you don't know where you're going or what you're doing, I don't know.
Or if you don't want to read the quests.
If you don't want, you have to spend however much time reading each note to find where you're going. It's
Which I actually really like.
I know there's people who like that. I don't have time for that. I want to enjoy a game, not read a book.
There's a balance. For me, most of the time, I'm the type of guy who skips through the cutscenes and doesn't care. Especially if I've played it once before, I'll get through it really quick. Obviously, the first time you experience something, you watch it all the way through. But if I go back and play Halo 1, I'm not watching every cutscene, or Halo 2. I'm not watching. If I'm playing by myself, it's I just get through it because I care about the gameplay. And in Morrowind, you have to read a lot to know where to go, but it's not excessive. They could definitely trim it a little bit to make it easier to get through for a more modern audience, because I think a lot of people have short attention span. But I always felt in Oblivion and in Skyrim, you kind of lose a little exploration aspect sometimes, and you kind of lose what the purpose of what you're doing is if you just always go to where the nav point is. The game, it does turn into just go to where the nav point is, and you don't really have to read, or you don't even have to listen to what's going on. You do lose some story elements there.
But see, that's what this goes back to the same thing that we were talking about with Breath of the Wild. You don't have to just follow the nav point. You can take it upon yourself to explore. You can take it upon yourself to do these things. It's when you're forced to do them that it gets to be irritating. Yeah. That's why I think Oblivion is the perfect mix, where Skyrim is definitely a fantastic game, love the game to death. But I think Oblivion has better quests, better storylines, better quest lines in total. Obviously, the Fighters Guild versus the Companions is literally night and day, where the Fighters Guild is such an awesome storyline, and you end up burning down the tree. Sorry, spoilers, anyone who hasn't played it. You burn down the history and all this cool stuff that happens, and you're there's backstabbing and deviousness going on, the Mages Guild, night and day. Skyrim, much better combat, much better, flow to the map, I'd feel, less wasted space, better, weapon diversity and things, but Oblivion's quest lines and the main storyline, so much better. Exploration, a lot better.
Yeah, the Thieves Guild in Oblivion is definitely more enjoyable than the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, and the Companions is definitely worse.
For sure.
And although I always played the Companions through because I would always get Ayla as a follower, and I would always get the vampire, or not the vampire, the werewolf, because then it makes you immune to diseases. So it's and you don't even have to use it if you don't want to. So why not? It's a total
The only negative is that everyone says you smell like wet dog.
Yeah, and who cares? And The weapon diversity, though, I don't know. I think Oblivion has, like, vanilla Oblivion has better weapon diversity than vanilla Skyrim.
Considering both games have been out for, well, Skyrim's almost at a decade and Oblivion's probably at 15 years now. In, I think, 2 months it'll be at 15 years or whatever it is.
Something like that, yeah.
We're talking about Game of the Year full DLC collections here. We're not talking about vanilla.
Yeah, Shivering Isles. Even if you had Shivering Isles, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Shivering Isles, best DLC ever.
Shivering Isles is the best DLC ever, yes.
Best DLC ever.
They're-
Made DLC mainstream, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Got people over the hurdle to accept DLC.
What made DLC mainstream was Mass Effect 1 bring down the... I forget exactly what it's called, but it was the DLC for Mass Effect 1. I remember it being advertised everywhere on Xbox 360. Like, it was the first DLC that was advertised everywhere.
Remember the map packs for Halo used to come on a separate disc?
You had to buy the... Yeah, you went to GameStop to get the disc.
That is funny.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely the best DLC. But I'm saying with Dragonborn, with the...
Maybe with the Dawn Guard.
Dawn Guard.
Maybe you're right. The Dawn Guard with the crossbow. I loved when they added
the crossbow, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? The only I think as far as necessary mods go, even though they're broke, there's a reason they didn't add them vanilla, because when you do add them, it gets to be just way too strong.
Mm-hmm.
Is the different crossbows past Dwarven? Like the Daedric crossbow is literally instant death. Like when you if you get the mod for all the crossbows, because he scaled the guy who made some German guy, I think, who made the crossbow mod. It's scales appropriately like the other weapons. So
it does the same ratio.
The same ratio.
Yeah.
So the Daedric crossbow and the Dragonbone crossbow is literally astronomical armor ignoring just destruction.
If they added crossbows in the new one that's coming down, and we'll talk about in the second half of this video.
You got to think they will.
I hope they do. The one thing that I hope they don't do, please God, is do not put guns in the game. Please God, don't do what Fable did. It single-handedly ruined Fable 2 for me.
What they could do is add Dwemer technology guns.
Well, that would be cool because that would make sense with the lore. Don't make it where it's 100 years later
pistols.
and they got flintlock pistols around.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Fable,
too campy for me.
Fable ruined Fable by doing that.
Yeah.
And not only the weapons that the DLCs for Skyrim add, because if you think back to Shivering Isles, it really only adds 2 armors. There's variants.
There's 2 armors.
And then you get, Sheogorath's robe, I think. Right?
Well, there's, also clothes and stuff that's unique.
Yeah.
But there's only, in my opinion, 2 armors that you would get,
a few cool, nifty weapons.
The hammer with all the
hammer,
the shattered glass.
Oh, that one's sick.
Yeah, that one's cool. Shock damage.
But then you think there's armors that are added not only into the game, but if you start a new game with the DLC in Skyrim, you can smith those armors by getting the perks. So it's you don't even need to go to the DLC island to start getting these the older Nordic, the cooler stylized ones. I forget exactly what they're called. Not the ancient Nordic ones you pick up from Draugr, but
the one that has the bear helmet.
The bear helmet and stuff like that. All of that set.
I think it's Nordic armor.
Nordic, okay, yeah. And then the bone mold and the chitin armor. There's a lot of armors that the DLCs add along with the weapons in Skyrim, yeah. Which I love, one of my favorite mods for Skyrim is the what are they called? The armors. There's the oh wow, I might have to look this up right now. Immersive Armors, it just popped in my head. The Immersive Armors mod, one of my favorite all-time mods.
Yeah,
because there's the immersive weapons too. Which isn't as crucial as the armors because it just adds such cool armors that's scaled to armor that's already in the game, so it's not overpowered.
Yeah, I would say if there's anybody out there who's played Skyrim but hasn't modded it, if you if it's 10 years down the road now and you have a computer, maybe you never went back.
You only need
go back and play it. You don't need in today's
a gig or 2 graphics card with good mods.
You don't need a lot.
Yeah.
To run it.
Yeah, just a simple graphics card for a 10-year-old game that by itself, because it's still on the same engine Oblivion was on, even though they touched it up. it can't run like as great graphics as like they can make with the mods. The game itself can't run.
Yeah, the
too
engine
well.
itself does get unstable.
It gets unstable
if
if you add too much stuff, and if you're trying to make like if you do any tweaks to make it look as beautiful as possible, you're gonna get stutters no matter how strong your computer is, because it's just not built for it. But that being said, just like cleaning up the HD DLC that they put out for free, you know, for people who have the game. There's like better versions of that HD DLC that takes less space, that runs smoother, like on Nexus, which is where you would download your mods. So there's just like simple fixes and things that you don't need a strong computer at all. So it's definitely a recommendation. Even if you have like a modern kind of half-assed gaming laptop, totally recommend.
It's definitely run on a laptop.
Get it going. You'll you know, even now, but that's even something else. On PlayStation, on Xbox, they have it where you can mod it now because they couldn't compete anymore because everyone was building PCs to play Skyrim. So now you can just mod it right on the console. It's not as intuitive and you don't have as many options, but it's still definitely doable. I've seen a lot of threads on there when I'm looking up mods for my own thing where it's like, oh, how do you do this on the PlayStation version or etc. So really, it's so accessible to mod at this point.
Yeah, there's no excuse not to, and it really does make the game better. It's one of my favorite gaming experiences.
For sure.
Yeah, modding Skyrim. And I remember playing through the game one time, like having like a crazy master file on my Xbox 360, where, you know, I got everything to 100 or whatever, and then I did the same thing. You know, you always have like a few files that you make it all the way through and do every single mission, but you don't do that every playthrough. So I had like these 2 playthroughs, one on the 360 and one on the PC, that when you have it fully modded and it doesn't crash on you, you don't lose your save file, and you play all the way through and you get like a really badass character with like the equipment that you want, and you have like an awesome like modded home with all of your goodies in there that you save up, like you just feel like a total warrior and a total badass, and it's a good feeling.
Definitely a thing on PC that I don't believe, even with the mod capabilities on console, a thing on PC to watch out for is the console command. A, to give yourself things, and B, to go to the developer room. Once you have the temptation, it's hard to fight it, and you end up ruining the game for yourself. So that's just a little pointer for anyone who's playing on PC, to try your hardest not to cheat.
Yeah, it's easy to cheat, but it'll ruin it ruins the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you just want to, okay, I want to see.
I just want to
spawn a bunch of enemies and kill them. Like, that's fun. But
or if it's like, okay, I have this orcish armor set, and I'm just missing the boots. It's like, I'm so sick of looking for the boots because by the time I find them, I'll find other stuff that's not orcish that's better. So let me just grab these boots real quick. Like,
stuff like that.
I'll excuse that.
It's funny, though, because I feel the same exact way. And I think I ruined my first playthrough of Fallout 4 like that. Because I did cheat. I had it on the PC and I gave myself all the miscellaneous junk items that you used to craft.
Yeah.
And I think that ruined my experience. But it's interesting because in Oblivion and in Skyrim, I try to avoid cheating. I usually do. One thing I always will do, though, and it feels different to me, even though it does the same thing where like you get a better character or you get more money, is I always do the exploits.
The exploits are part of the fun.
The exploits are part of the fun. There's the classic one where you can get the unlimited money in the beginning in Oblivion, where you like go in the house.
Oh yeah,
in the house.
I had it down to a science.
I forget how to do that one necessarily because I didn't do it a lot, but I always did the arena.
The arena,
like jump. Yeah, you jump out of the wall in the arena, and then you turn the difficulty all the way up, and then that way you can get like one of your blunt or your blade skill up. Awesome.
And there's a misconception that you can't level up your magic that way. All you need is touch magic, and you can do it. You can level up your magic that way. So the glitch he's describing is in the arena. As soon as you start an arena battle, you go up the steps. And you turn to your right, and you kind of run and jump at the wall there that's like in the corner, and then you can get onto like a ledge that's outside the level. And
it's almost so perfect, it seems like they intentionally did it.
And then you drop down to the second ledge, and the guy who you're fighting will come and run at you, but he can't hit you because you're out of the level behind the wall. But if you're in first person, you clip through the wall and you can hit him. So you put it on the hardest difficulty and you just wail on them and get your stats up because the game is balanced weirdly. Oblivion. There's definitely some weird leveling up balance things that Skyrim definitely streamlined for the better, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's one glitch. But the other glitch where you have to go, I think his name was Dorian or something, the guy who has the infinite money. You have to bribe him so that he has more money. And then you sneak into his room and put your fists up so he gets angry at you. And then you kill him so that it's not a murder. It's just a breaking and entering fine. So you when the guard comes, he doesn't charge you 1,000. He only charges you 30 or whatever it is. And then his inventory before the patch, which to unpatch it, there's all sorts of things you can do. You just keep getting money from his inventory because it never refreshes that you've taken it, so you can keep taking it. But then there's one other glitch that I'm pretty sure you've never done. That's like I only did once because it's kind of like, why do it? It kind of like it's really just to get the dragon armor early. But you can do the paintbrush skip the main quest glitch. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I've seen that because the paintbrushes, they float where you drop.
So the paintbrushes float. So you go to the temple in the Imperial City where the final cutscene takes place.
White Gold Tower.
And that's the center. Yeah, it's the where he destroys and becomes Akatosh.
Oh, okay.
So you do a paintbrush ladder up to the top of that dome building, and you clip through it, and you walk through a door, and then it activates the last cutscene where that happens. And
loads that scene. It's a separate scene.
And you skip the entire main story. Like, as soon as you get out of the sewers and you just pick up, I think you need 12 or 15 paintbrushes, which you can find all scattered around the Imperial City in random crates. You can just skip the main story immediately and just go about your business if you so choose, which there's always, just having that in the game as a glitch is just awesome, I feel.
Well, yeah, because you feel a sense of accomplishment. Sometimes you can do it for fun. Sometimes you can do it seriously.
It's like a speedrun technique.
Like a speedrun technique. Like, it's not necessarily cheating. You actually have to achieve it. I know in the 360 version of Oblivion, I used to duplicate items, and they patched it a bunch of times. But then there's always new ways to do it, where you had a bow out and you shoot the item and drop it at the same time.
There was and all of these glitches is funny because on the 360. It was once an option that was viewable, but then they hid it specifically for this reason. It's because everyone would delete their update cache, so that when you play Oblivion, you delete the update cache, and you just have the base game, the vanilla game, and you could do all the glitches. And then you start a new game like that, and then you save it and update after you've done your glitches, and you go about your business with your infinite money, with your duplicated items, with... Actually, the arena glitch they never patched out, so you could do
the arena glitch. You could still do to this day.
Yeah, you could still do to this day. But those other two glitches you could do if you want, and then save the game and then update it so that you don't lose. Because if you start a save file before you delete the cache, you won't be able to play that save file because it's trying to run the updated version. But so they deleted that setting, and then the only way to do it is to go into memory, and I forget the exact code because I remember doing it so many times. You have to actually do a cheat code to unlock delete the cache again. So it was XXYY up down or something.
Yeah.
And it was oh, you want to delete your thing? They hit it after a while.
Huh. I don't think I knew that. But yeah. I used to do this other one, and this is I love this stuff where you could download the Wizard's Tower DLC in Oblivion. And if you go to this specific spot and you save, you can go into your 360 dashboard. And I think it still works with the computer if you just delete the DLC information from your folder. But you would go and you would uninstall the DLC that you were at, the Wizard's Tower DLC. And then you would load that game, and the game would have a failsafe where it would load you into another cell to prevent the game from crashing. So it would load you outside of this house, in the void outside of the collision of a house, and you would have to go and land on the side of the house and move around to the side and unlock this door, and it would let you out into this beta/demo area. That maybe it's a developer room, or it's not a developer.
Is that where there's the Todd Howard voice actor?
No. I think the actual town that's there is the same cell, or it's the same model of houses that is in the scene where you kill the goblins in the Fighters Guild.
Yeah.
But but you're actually killing your teammates or something like that. So it's like that same cell, but you're free roam. You're not stuck in like the story of that mission. So you're able to go into the houses, and there's this mace there called the Mace of Doom that counts as a sword in like it like using the blade
this is where the Todd Howard voice actor is. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it has the explosion like effect,
Yeah.
which is like really cool. And then in one of the houses you can get unlimited sigil stones. And like I remember doing that all the time, and using the Mace of Doom and having the sigil stones, which would I think you could enchant your stuff with it.
Yeah. Or you something like that. I don't remember. It's the
yeah, I think it's like to add enchantments to your
what's
stuff.
the one that refreshes? It's not the because obviously the soul gems recharge your stuff, but there was one other one. Was it the Varla stones that
Varla stones?
Yeah. Okay. So that's what recharges. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that sort of stuff. I thought Oblivion was a little bit more mysterious. Obviously, Skyrim had like the Dwemer stuff, which was really cool. But if you really think back, it's like, man, like Oblivion had the like more elvish, mystical kind of things going on, and Morrowind was even more weird than that.
Yeah. Look upon the heart.
I don't know if I like truly love Skyrim's aesthetic, like the Nord thing. Like I felt it kind of like locked you into like it obviously wanted you to play as a Nord. It wasn't as fun to like.
That's probably my biggest gripe with Skyrim is that it kind of like 90% of it makes sense if you're a Nord.
Yeah.
And then there's like a few things where it's like even if you're a Nord, the game like is like, oh well, you could be an Argonian or a Khajiit, so it like is programmed in such a way like when you meet Ulfric for the first time outside of the opening sequence and you go to Windhelm and you meet him, he's like, why do you want to join the Stormcloaks and help the rebellion or whatever? And it's like, I'm a Nord, dude. Like, what do you mean? Why do I want to?
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, if I'm an Argonian, he's going to say, well, why would you? It's like, yeah, it makes sense. But if like I'm a Nord, you don't have anything else scripted. It's like they kind of were lazy in a lot of those aspects when they made Skyrim.
And I hope they don't make the same mistakes in the new one, like making it so you have to be the Red Guard to make it make sense or something like that.
Because in Oblivion, you didn't have to be an Imperial.
I don't think I played a single file as an Imperial. I always thought they looked ugly.
I played the very first file because I was like, all right, because like that's another like when I say that I got the game and I hadn't because you must have seen it before I even bought it. When you said you saw it at your friend's house when you Oblivion for the first time,
Green Machine had it.
No, Green Machine got it after me.
Yeah, so I saw it after you.
Oh, because Green Machine only got it because I got it.
Yeah.
So that's hilarious. Okay. Right, so I'm thinking about my first playthrough, and I get out of the sewers, and it's like, oh, and you see the light, and you see the open world. I'll never forget this. And I'm like, okay, so I look at my map, and because I didn't understand the depth of how many side quests and things I could go anywhere I wanted, because I'm used to playing, Final Fantasy where it's like there gets a point where you get the open world and you can do all the side quests. It's like weird.
But it kind of funnels you for the
it funnels you for the story element of the game. For like the first, 3/4, and then usually before the end of the game you get the open world aspect. But this, it's right off the bat as soon as you get out of the sewers. So I didn't realize that. So I didn't even think about fast travel either. So because it wasn't
I think that was the first game I played that had fast travel.
Well, the first game I played that had fast travel was Knights of the Old Republic, but and Fable as well.
Oh, Fable too.
But those games are so much smaller. Like you kind of didn't really even need it. Fable a little bit more, but Coder you really didn't need it. But I'm thinking, okay, so I got my first mission here. Let me bring the amulet to Joffrey, and I walked from the sewers all the way to the Cheydinhal Sanctuary. And I remember, like, for some reason so vividly, like, exactly I went, through the lake. I went northwest towards where my goal was. And I just remember fighting slaughterfish and coming across wolves and rats. And then my first Khajiit highwayman, give me all of your money, or whatever, he says. And I was, nah. And I had because you're still... A, I was new to the game, and B, I was level 1. I didn't learn how to level up for a while on my first playthrough. I didn't realize you had to go to sleep.
Yeah, that happened to Dunk too, and you leveled up 20 times the first time you slept.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, that's how it works.
So I was like, okay, whatever. But I ended up beating him, but I remember it being a struggle, and I had to like climb up a ladder, and he like came or stairs. I don't know if there was ladders in Oblivion. Went up the stairs in one of those old, like fort ruins that has the multiple levels, and you usually go down into the fort. But I went up one of the levels, and Allen Iverson juked him out, and then like got behind him, sliced him up good. I'll never forget it because I was like, oh my god, this guy is actually really challenging. And then after that, I went and got to Coral, where the sanctuary is. Gave the amulet, and then went straight to Kvatch. And I walked to Kvatch, and I could see
that's a far walk, right?
And I could see come from the direction I came, because if you know the map, you're coming down southwest, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I could, because like you get to a point where it's an open field, and you could like see the platform that Kvatch is kind of on, and it's like normal looking, and as you get closer, the sky starts turning red. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I go up the side of because there's like a slope there, the side I came up from, and it kept getting more red, more red. And I got up, and you find the little pocket of the people who made it out, and it's like, oh my god, what is going on? And you go up, and you see the Oblivion Gate, and I got in the Oblivion Gate, and I must have been in there for like 3 hours before I figured out what to do, because, it doesn't outright
really explain it.
But, just fighting through, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is back in the day where you could sit down and play video games for 7 hours straight. And I just played and played and played, and then I finally figured out how to, bring down the gate. Oh, no, actually, I couldn't figure out now I remember, I couldn't figure it out, so I left the gate, went and did some arena quests, and then came back and was like, all right, let me try to do this now. And then I figured it out. But, man, what a great, and now it's even more funny to me that it's because I got Oblivion that day at GameStop. Green Machine got it, which is when you saw it. So that chain of events because of that episode of South Park is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's the butterfly effect, right? That's what they call that.
Looking forward, though, it's a tough, as glowingly and as appreciative as I've been to this point in the Slimecast, other than that one, slight about 76, because it's hard to tell now. 76 was so bad, so criminally deceptive in its advertisement, 16 times the detail, underwhelming on every level, broken on every level, half-baked, a cash grab by all rights, the lying with the nylon bags.
It was disaster after disaster.
Disaster after disaster.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because Skyrim came out in 2011 and the DLC came out in 2012 or 13, I think. Dragonborn was the last one.
Yeah.
So it's been 8-9 years since Bethesda's put out, not, because Dishonored has put out some good games. There's been some Bethesda-owned games, not Elder Scrolls, not the main squad.
Good.
Not the main squad working on them, subdivisions of Bethesda that have made good games. But as far as Fallout 4, while it wasn't terrible, was not good.
It was definitely a step in the wrong direction.
It was definitely a step in the wrong direction. They broke the level up system with the way they changed it, made it not fun, because to really build a specific character, you had to level up to 100 something, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it just wasn't balanced perfectly. And also just the map design wasn't as good.
The map design wasn't as good. The fact that the protagonists had lines, I think, ruined the feeling of
it being a role-playing game.
It's it's weird because, Dragon Age, as bad as Dragon Age 2 was compared to Dragon Age 1, Hawk was a cool character that I could get behind as my main character. Shepard is a cool character I could get behind as my main character, so on and so forth. Bethesda games, the way that they were built, it's not about the personality of the character. It's about it being you experiencing this other world.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that Fallout, while it's Earth, you're in Boston, you're not. It's not like there's ghouls and there's death claws. It's not, it's not the same. So the fact that it runs the same way and it feels the same way, and then they added voice acting, really, I think, was a bad thing for the storytelling aspect of the game. The weapons were broken. Like, you could take the first pipe pistol and make it outrageous. The quest lines were kind of half-baked. There wasn't as many memorable characters. Like, just one example is, like, compare Three Dog in Fallout 3 to the, like, nerdy radio guy, I can't even remember his name, in Radio City. Or whatever, not, is it Radio? What the hell is, why did I say Radio City?
So you can't even remember.
Diamond City.
Diamond City, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can't even remember because nothing about the game is really memorable. Like,
yeah, it definitely lost some character, lost some pizzazz.
Right.
It wasn't as inspired.
So with that in mind, looking forward, there, all signs point to them releasing Starfield before the next Elder Scrolls. So, like, if Starfield is not good, I have very little hope for the next Elder Scrolls being good. If Starfield has microtransactions and is like a service-based game, or if they're trying to pull this, like 16 times the detail and then it's broken, it's not. They haven't had a good look for the last 8 years or so, I don't think.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what they do with Starfield. Because like you said, yeah, Fallout 4 wasn't as good.
Not terrible.
Then they did Fallout 76, which was it was like a mockery. And it came out right around when Anthem did really bad. It was like, that did really bad. Anthem did really bad, which wasn't them. And it was just like a bunch of bad games all at once. It really left sour taste in people's mouths. And if Starfield isn't stellar, then people are going to have some reservations about the new Elder Scrolls.
People already have reservations.
I'm worried. And unless there's one thing that I kind of hope, of putting the positive energy out there into the universe, is like, I hope, like, okay, they obviously want to be cash grab. They want to make a cash grab type of game. They want their version of Fortnite. They want their version of, you need like a live service game that's like constantly making you money. Like, I understand that. And some people like those types of games. Obviously, they make money, so people like spending money on them. It's not my cup of tea. If they make Starfield, like I told you one time before, King Louis, if they make Starfield like that, like their version of Fortnite, where it's a live service and they can make money on it and it satisfies
like a Destiny 2 kind of deal.
Destiny 2 kind of deal, or it satisfies a certain, a Warframe type of thing, satisfies a certain group of gamers, so that way they can make enough money, hopefully, to like actually make a good single player experience for the people who like Elder Scrolls. Like, if they make Elder Scrolls, if they try to make that live service, it's not going to be in the spirit of the game franchise.
Right. And also, what is a good thing, hopefully, considering the monetary gain now that Microsoft owns Bethesda. It's honestly, I don't know, because I think Microsoft is in competition with Sony right now in the new generation. I don't think Microsoft want anything bad coming out under their umbrella, because that's not a good look if you're trying to win a console war. So I have the hope that they're going to really make sure that both Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 are good games. Because it's not like EA bought Bethesda, where it's like Anthem and, the two Star Wars games that weren't good came out. And, EA's kind of tried to mend the fence a little bit.
They're also in a downward kind of
They
trend.
came out with a couple Star Wars games that were actually good single-player experiences. They came
Fallen
out...
Jedi.
Yeah, they came out with a few single-player story games. They've listened. They've listened. The only thing with EA is that they'll never let go of FIFA and Madden and all the microtransactions. Which
and that's their right. That's
it's their right, but
don't ruin a good game franchise.
Exactly.
Though, please.
Don't let it poison everything else. So that's why I think now that Microsoft's in the picture, I have more hope. But again, can't know until I see Starfield.
One thing, and I know you didn't get into it much, is Minecraft. And I didn't play it a whole lot either, but I did play it a little bit. And I played it on my phone, and I had it on the computer. And one thing that I noticed is that when it was purchased by Microsoft is that Microsoft really did pour a lot of resources into it. It was a big money generator. It's one of the biggest games of all time. And
I think it's still like the #1 selling game of all time.
It may be, yeah. And it makes sense to me. And it made so much money, but it wasn't a cash grab. They just constantly updated it, constantly added new things. They just added
the story mode. They
added the story and all this, but like they actually added to like the sandbox of the world.
Yeah.
And they add like now it's like doesn't even look the same. It's like so fantastic. There's a lot of different options, and they sold their skins, and they have little things like that.
I'm not mad at cosmetic stuff
pack, but it wasn't like Fallout 76 where they're charging you a bunch of money for a single skin, or or making it so it's like you're playing online, but you can pay to win with the boosters and they said that they weren't going to do that. So, it really depends on how they do it. You can do DLC and you can do microtransactions in a way that don't ruin the game. And I expect them to do something. Obviously, they're probably going to do paid mods. That's how they're going to sell it.
Well, they've already done that with both Skyrim and Fallout 4. They have paid mods.
They should just do mini DLC.
That's basically what it is.
That's paid mod. It's mini DLC. I mean, they could market it in a way that's not going to piss people off and add to the game. They just have to have some respect for their customers and not rip them off. Like, actually gives them something that's worth the money.
Right. And I think paid mods will never take off because the PC, the master race, we're watching. We know what you're doing, and we're going to thwart it, because we're still going to have our mods that are free. Free mods forever. And I don't think they can afford to tango with their main audience in that way. So I think there'll still be a thing, but it's going to be like it is now, where it's like, oh yeah, it's a thing, and we're going to have the menu in the main menu before you press, new game, continue, whatever. But they're not going to celebrate it like they did when it first came out. It's just going to be there, and if you want to use it, you can use it so they can make their money. But I don't think it's going to ever dominate the way that they hoped it would.
Well, no, and a single team or single studio can never produce the amount of mods and the amount of diverse mods that are actually out there. Like, if anybody's familiar with the Skyrim mod community, there's 100 different skeleton mods. Like, there's 100 different, starting
septum
mods,
retextures.
You can finely tune the game to how you want it to be. Like, I like my game when I was modding it more gritty, a little bit more real. Where you kind of made a couple times when you used ENB, you had it where it looked like a little fantasy.
I like
story.
it because it's like fantasy,
and it was cool. It's like, even though we were both modding it and downloading stuff off the same site, it wasn't like controlled by a single studio that had like a mono thing. So I think a lot of people who are used to that, people who modded Skyrim, they're not going to accept just what Bethesda gives them. They're always going to go out and mod. They're always going to do it. I mean, like we were saying, we had 200 mods running at one time, in tandem with each other to make a good experience. So there's no way that a single game studio is going to do that level of post-launch work. So there's always going to be free mods, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny, speaking of the Skyrim modding community on a broader surface, the Skyrim modding community not only is the most active and the best modding community probably that there's ever been or ever will be, there is something to be said for games that came out after the Skyrim modding community started like really flourishing, and there was popular things, and like people started making more EMBs and more like graphical like tweaks and different aspects. All of the other game developers who were getting into the business took notice of that. They know like what was hot and what was not. And if you go and you look to before Skyrim and after Skyrim, there's several things in almost every video game now that was born out of the Skyrim modding community. Like, there's a lot more lens flares in video games. There's a lot more EMB kind of
depth of field.
Effects.
Like, yeah, I saw that as a mod in Skyrim, and then after that, it's like in every game. Yeah, I was like, oh, wow.
There's all sorts of little things. The water textures in every game all of a sudden were much better after Skyrim came out. And
well, it's interesting. You can look at the mods that are on there, and you can see the most popular ones. And like as somebody who's designing a game or like trying to make something that's going to sell, like you see what people like.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, well, I'll just put that as a base.
And that's what not only as far as just the gameplay, but like the wide-reaching effects of the Skyrim modding community. Like the games that you're playing, like Fortnite looks kind of like cel-shaded a little bit, like a Zelda kind of a deal. Like obviously that had some influence there. So that isn't really but the fact that it's like everything is green, whereas back before Skyrim and a few years after, everything was brown.
What do you mean?
In video games, aesthetically. Like, everything was gray and brown, like a lot of games. And then Skyrim got more and more popular and more, like you said, the fantasy mod like look that I had, a lot of people went with. A lot of games started looking like that. Less browns, more popping greens and pinks and oranges and reds. Like down to the colors of games changed, I feel, because of the modding community of Skyrim. Like, there's something to be said for one game. Not only, like I said earlier, like you can mod Skyrim on console now. That's because people in enough droves got PCs just like we did, built PCs, modded it specifically for these games that we're discussing, and then forced the hand of console developers to say, okay, well, you could do that with this game here too, so that you don't abandon our console.
Which is what I did after I built my computer. I never bought another console again other than Nintendo, because obviously you can't get those games on PC.
Right. Which is why they're smart for doing that. But that's all coming to an end now because I guarantee you in the next Nintendo, not necessarily the Switch Plus Ultra that's coming out, but I think the next Nintendo console generation, there's going to be PC Nintendo games because in Japan, people don't have even PlayStations anymore. Like people have Switches and PCs because they like the Switch because they can take it on the go, and their PC is what they use for not only their games but their work, their streaming. Why would you have a console if you could do it all on your PC that you can customize and build your own certain way without any parameters or any company telling you like the games you could play here or like you have to go through our software to download this or that. Like PC is a master race for sure, and that's not even a joke at this point. Like there's just so much more the power you have at your fingertips with PC. So it's dominating the market currently. The console war is very telling of what they started marketing in this generation. Oh yeah, now we've got these graphics cards and these SSDs. It's like, yeah, we're trying to compete with PC. And PC is where it's at because of Skyrim.
Yeah, for sure. And games like that.
Yeah.
Definitely like what it did is it made it so that way it's worth getting a PC and building it and everything like that. One thing that I hope that they do in the new Elder Scrolls is one of the mods that I hope that they really like learn from is the alternate start mod. Not on the first playthrough. Maybe the first playthrough, okay, it locks you into the one that it has the best story. But like when you go to start a new game, like after you've played it once, that second file, you should be able to start in a different town. I like where it's like, what are you? Okay, poor, rich. All right. Okay, where do you live? All right, what race are you? Okay, cool. And kind of just starts you somewhere where that really makes it where it's where you can really like customize and pretend your character is a certain thing. You can like think of this headcanon backlore for your guy. Oh, I like that stuff. They need to do that more of that.
See, I agree with you on the front that that's totally something that should be in the game. But I feel like it's almost tradition now that it's not, that there is a mod that must be made by somebody.
Somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it, and it always will rise to the top 5 mods. It happened in Oblivion. I didn't play Morrowind as much, but it was an alternate start. Live Another Life was top of the line in Oblivion, and obviously in Skyrim. And that mod needs to be made again for Elder Scrolls 6, because it's tradition. It needs to happen, and it needs, because it's better. It'll always be better than anything Bethesda will do. So that's why it's like, there'll always be the water mod, there'll always be alternate start mod, and there'll always be the HD package texture mod that like everyone starts with the first time they mod Skyrim.
Yeah, and it's funny too because even if Bethesda added having like an alternate start feature,
There would be a better
there
mod.
would be a mod to overhaul
Yeah.
it, or,
Oh, yeah.
like, or something that with more options, or just anything. It would just make it better anyway.
Yeah.
So
Rebalanced starting gear for the alternate start,
yeah,
Bethesda, vanilla thing.
works
whatever.
with sexy females
Yeah.
like mod.
Works with curvy body mod.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we can laugh about that joke. It's just like it's like I said this to you before you started. I said this to you. I'll never forget because you were like, dude, like you're always playing Skyrim or whatever. It's like, dude, it's not just a game. It's like a hobby. Because like modding it is like a thing. Like it's like building those guys who used to build the model airplanes as their hobby or the model train sets.
Yeah.
It's like building a Skyrim build, mod build is like a hobby. It
takes like 4 hours to
takes-
get
it
all your
takes
mods ready,
days.
choose your mods. Like you have to go down and download all your mods.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay,
And
which
then-
one? You got to do it in a certain order.
and
Then
you gotta
play.
you gotta
test.
know what is conflicting with this. If you gotta make a patch, if you have to download a ready-made patch, like if you're gonna
You apply filter for cleaning.
if you apply filters for cleaning, you have to clean your DLC because again, Bethesda being Bethesda, like this is just like things that anyone who's ever modded Skyrim is going to hear what we're saying
And
be
know
like,
exactly
just
what we're
like just
talking
have a smile on their face and just know that someone else understands the trials and tribulations that they've gone through to get Skyrim working the way they want to get it
Yeah, you
working.
got to mess with the INI. You got to do the 4 gig like RAM expander.
That's in Fallout 3.
Yeah, SKSE, like all that.
Yep. Just the accomplishment of that first time that I think I only had, like I said earlier, I think I only had a 2 gig graphics card. But the first, and the game struggled at an FPS, but I didn't care at the time. Because it was just like that first time I had seen it on YouTube videos of these people who had their Skyrim looking because it was an Xbox 360 game. And people had it looking better than some Xbox One games. Like, wow, like how many mods? Like that first time I got it, set it up with the EMB, and it looked as good as it looked with the shadow density and the depth of field and the lighting in just the right way and the color scheme and the new skybox. Like, and I'm just fighting a regular pack of Thalmor guys walking in the middle of the woods somewhere by Falkreath or whatever. And it just looked so amazing. It wasn't running the best. Like I said, I only had a 2 gig graphics card, and I didn't know as much back then, like as what was more efficient and what wasn't efficient, any tweaks I could do, things. Obviously, I have a much better graphics card now, so it would run it like butter. But just that experience of having it look the way I wanted, like I spent the time picking, that armor that the Thalmor soldier was wearing and the grass that he died in, and just like, it's something special when you get it done, when you finally have it the way you want it.
Yeah, for sure. I know that one of the things that I like is when you download the armor packs, and then it's like, oh, do you want you get to the glass armor, and it's like, well, do you want the blue frosted glass armor, or do you want the shattered green hard classic Oblivion look glass armor?
You're talking about a Middenborn armors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it's like, or you could choose the white fur or the dark
gray
fur,
or the brown fur.
On the iron armor, that sort of stuff. It's like
I
my game
always-
isn't going to look the same as yours, and it's that's what's part of the fun.
I always pick the black Thalmor armor because they're supposed to be the bad guys. They shouldn't have the gold armor anymore.
The black with the
because it matches what the guys are wearing.
Yeah,
The other guys, the hooded
trench coat guys.
Yeah. Oh, it's like sitting here talking about it is getting me itching. Like load up the Nexus right now and start modding. I think I actually have my Skyrim still set up the way, or maybe I deleted it. I don't remember, but I think I know I have Oblivion set up, modded. I could load it up right now, but I don't remember if I have my Skyrim still. But I'm getting that itch.
Just talking about
tweaking in the shoulder a little bit.
So they did. finally confirm the next location in the newest Elder Scrolls.
Right.
So, and I heard that it's going to be Hammerfell, which I kind of knew by the trailer.
Yeah,
that first trailer they did.
Trailer where there was so many
trailer, just name reveal.
Yeah, the logo drop. That first trailer, they gave enough of the landmass where people picked apart exactly where it was on the map.
Yeah, right on that north shore with the 3 little bumps. Yep.
Yeah,
makes sense.
So like they gave you all the information you needed right then and there, and the community picked it apart clean. So.
Yeah, I hope they do something really good. I'm interested in how they're going to do like the diversity. One of the things I liked about Cyrodiil is like it had like a lot of diversity of like characters and stuff like that. Where, like we mentioned before, Skyrim was like really focused towards like the Nord thing. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I know like the orcs are probably going to be a big part of it because I think Orsinium is in Hammerfell, technically in the lore, if it takes place obviously after Skyrim.
Well, or that war is long over.
Well, that's what war?
The war.
Do you think it's going to be a direct sequel, or do you think it's going to be like another 200 years after?
Well,
what do you think?
The way they've been for Morrowind, it was what, like 100 years. Oblivion was 100 years later or something.
Something like that.
And then it was like 200 years after the Oblivion Crisis was Dragonborn.
Like yeah.
So it's going to be something 200, 300 years. Probably they're going to follow the pattern.
Yeah.
And I think that it's because the Thalmor were such a big plot point of Skyrim, they could take it in two ways, where it's either the Thalmor like have even gained more strength and more of a foothold, and like the Empire is gone and now it's like the Thalmor Empire, or because Ulfric stood up to the Thalmor in the Civil War, however many years earlier, the rest of the world said, nah, son, and stomped out the Thalmor. And, like, high elves are even hard to find now because they just get their throat slit because it's like, nah, son.
I think the fact that they want you to be a Nord in Skyrim, they're going to make that the canon...
Because
like,
the Empire it needs to be around.
Yeah.
There needs to be a septum.
The canon storyline is going to be that the main character does side with the Stormcloaks and they do win that little battle, and it does maybe rally some people against the Thalmor, or maybe the Stormcloaks take over the Empire.
Well,
and it's like, the Nords in charge instead of the Imperials. They could do something crazy. It would be fun if they did something
What
crazy.
I hope for, because in my headcanon, because there's actual like things that point out to this making sense, which is why I like this as my headcanon. I love being an Argonian. That's my favorite race to be, not only for the Hist skin ability, but just because Argonians are so cool.
They can breathe underwater.
They can breathe. They're slightly resistant to disease. In Oblivion, they were just resistant to disease, which was broken. I understand why they put it at 50% for Skyrim. But in my headcanon, the reason my Argonian is in the cart at the beginning with Ulfric Stormcloak is because he's coming in to see what's going on with this skirmish. He's been sent by the Argonian like king or royal family. I don't know their hierarchy exactly how it works. He's been sent as like one of their strongest spy warriors, because like the Argonians are all about like espionage and like dark brotherhood ties and whatnot. He's sent in to see what's going on, and he gets captured because like he's crossing the border illegally, just like it says in the canon of the game. And he ends up siding, like he's been told to like the Thalmor are a threat. Like we have to stop the Thalmor. Like if the Empire is weak, like that's even better. So the Argonian comes and he sides with the Stormcloaks and drives out the Empire and the Thalmor. And then in this next game now, because our hero, not only because like Argonians are like lizard-like, so it's cool to think an Argonian as the Dragonborn. It just like it makes sense kind of on some levels. But now the Thalmor took a hit. The Empire has literally got pooped on by both sides now. The Stormcloaks and the Thalmor just wrecked the Empire in these previous two battles. The Argonian Empire, which is now in the actual Skyrim lore timeline, is moving north and taking Morrowind. And they can move up and they can take Solstheim or whatever. They, betray the Stormcloaks and take Skyrim.
Mm.
And now it's like from the east of the map is like all the Argonian Black Marsh Empire, and then the west of the map is all like Thalmor Empire, and High Rock is kind of right in the middle there, and it could be like a huge war. That's my hope, especially going with my headcanon, but I doubt they're going to put as much emphasis on Argonians because they seem to not love Argonians as much as I do.
They do, they just don't show it a lot of the times. Because,
Yeah.
like, if you know the lore of the Oblivion Crisis, it's like the Argonians were the only, like, province to, like absolutely destroy the Daedric and actually go into like wholesale, like go into the Oblivion Gates and like actually shut them. Like if you know like the lords, like they actually like kicked Mehrunes Dagon's butt, and then obviously you do that in Cyrodiil too. But like you're kind of like alone in that sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think because I've kind of watched some videos online and I've researched it enough. Like I think it's obviously going to be. I hope it's not like this, but I think what it's going to be is it's going to be a similar storyline to what we just got, where now it's like the people of Hammerfell, the Redguard, the Alakir, and all those types of people also having their internal divisions and kind of being split up between like helping, fighting against the Falmor or fighting against somebody else. Like I hope they kind of like make it a little bit more intricate than that, but I know like there's like two major factions in Hammerfell. It's like the King's faction and then the other one. So I know I think it's going to end up being a similar. At least the main story is going to end up being similar. Where like the Thalmor is the main kind of bad guy, maybe, or not the main bad guy, but like a kind of like a political plot point. Yeah, we'll see.
I have a more just like kind of a cool moment in the game prediction for Elder Scrolls 6. And that's because obviously this is going to, I would think, take place after Skyrim, like, and the dragon episode. That most of the dragons, are either going to be dead or in hiding later on in the timeline. And there's going to be like one time where you go and you're doing a side quest and you fight a dragon, like where that's like still alive, that's like hiding somewhere.
Ancient, like awesome dragon.
Yeah.
They're not going to remove dragons. I just make them more scarce and maybe like really tough
Right, yeah, because they're like the ones that are still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
Do a bone dragon out in the desert or something like that. I hope they do stuff with pirates. Because there was a couple of cool like pirate mods I remember from Skyrim, and it had to do with like the the Redguard pirates and stuff like that. Redguard, the actual game, was like kind of like swashbucklery. Like I hope they do some of that.
I hope they put the entire Dark Brotherhood as like being like murderous pirates. Like that's like a new take on it. That'd be cool.
They could do that with the Thieves Guild.
The Thieves Guild is like
instead.
They kind of did that with Oblivion a little bit. The Thieves Guild. They were kind of, well, I guess it's just because they were on the waterfront that I'm kind of thinking that. It really wasn't that they were pirates.
Yeah.
There was just pirates around the St. Helena ship there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe okay. Yeah, they could do that, too.
Well, I don't know. I'm just, like, mentioning it.
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah, that would work.
They have to add like some sort of like new faction. Like it can't be like, okay, there's the Fighters Guild equivalent, there's the Mages Guild equivalent.
Well, no, but I think that works.
Like, they need those for sure.
Think
but
that
like, I hope
works.
they add some. Like one of the things I liked about Oblivion is that if you actually went to your faction page, like there was actually like a lot of like little factions too.
Yeah.
Like I hope they do more stuff. Like you can be the White Thorn or the House of the White Thorn or something like that. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, it's like something like that. Yeah,
and I liked that page where you can go to it and it had like the little icon and like it looked like watercolor and it showed you like what your rank was. Like I thought that was really cool.
Oblivion had the best menu for sure.
Yeah, they should do something like that. The thing about Morrowind is that, and this is what a lot of like real heavy fans of Morrowind will say, is that there's just more quest options in the older games. Like there was not one vampire clan you can join. There were 3 different ones.
See, but at the same time,
I don't think it needs to be that excessive.
That's what I'm saying. Is that
it'd be nice to have a little bit of
there's one thing to be said for there not being enough, but for there to be so much that it's like almost like overexposure. So it's like, if you say 3 vampire clans and my eyes roll. It's like, why do you need 3 vampire clans? It's kind of redundant. It's like, what's the difference between Vampire Clan A, B, and C? So this one sucks the neck, this one sucks the foot, and this one sucks the butt. Like what? What do you have there that justifies there being 3 separate clans? It's like it's a bit much.
Well, unless they're competing somehow. So like I don't think 3 vampire clans would work nowadays. But it could be like, think of Oblivion, think of the Fighters Guild. Wouldn't it have been cool if you could side with the what was that, the Blackwood,
Blackwood, I think, Blackwood Company.
Yeah, Blackwood Company.
Yeah,
like that'd be cool if it's like, okay, like halfway through, it's branched. You know, and
yeah,
then
I
those
agree.
branches are competing. So that way, it's like, okay, you don't do the Thieves Guild every single time you play the game, but when you do, sometimes you want to do it one way, sometimes you want to do it the other way. So like there's more options for people who just want to do sneaky stuff or just want to do bad.
That's why I really like, and for whatever reason, as much as we've talked about Skyrim, you have to admit you've never completed the Dark Brotherhood storyline, right?
In Skyrim, I never completed the Dark Brotherhood storyline.
It sickens me because
I have played every single mission, like except like the last few, just because like every single time I'm like, I'll save it for the end. That'll be like the cherry on top of my playthrough. That'll be the cherry on top because I really love the Dark Brotherhood and Oblivion. That's my favorite part of the game.
Yeah,
but then I just would get so sidetracked and I would just never get around to it. I would just never get around to actually doing it.
It's got such a cool ending if you do it the way you're supposed to. But what you know is you've started it, obviously, so this isn't in any spoiler territory, is at first, when you're in the shack, when Astrid has you with the 3 people tied up, you can choose to kill Astrid and then choose to go to the Dark Brotherhood or go to Solitude to tell the captain of the guard there, I forget his name, that like, oh yeah, the Dark Brotherhood's here, and you can choose to go and wipe out the Dark Brotherhood and just end the storyline there, and side with the Imperials and take them out.
Yeah, I mean,
right
that's
at the beginning.
cool, but it turns like a whole quest line into a single quest.
It's like
and it's
2 or
like,
3
okay, I'm not
quests.
going to do it, so I'm just going to destroy it. Okay,
but it's cool that it's an option.
It's cool that it's an option, and they should keep those things as options.
Yeah.
But it would be even cooler if it's like a third option is like, you know, you get told by the captain to infiltrate and then get them information and then, you know, do a raid, and it's like and it creates a new storyline like as a juxtaposition to like joining like legitimately. They could do something like that. Or competing, you know, it would just be cool with a little bit more options. I'm like, with what I got in Skyrim, I'm definitely happy, but it'd be cool if they kicked it up a notch.
Yeah.
It all depends on what they want to focus on, really. Do they want to focus on exploration in the dungeons? Or do they want to focus on the story? Obviously, Skyrim, they really focused on the fighting mechanics and the dungeons.
The dungeons were much better than
Oblivion.
Yeah.
So you can tell that that's where they really focused, and that's where the game shined.
Yeah. And the fact that there was the best thing about a Skyrim dungeon is whether or not you get a good thing in, because like the loot in a lot of things is randomized. Whether or not you get something good in the chest, you usually will get a word wall. So like you'll get another word to one of your shouts. Not only that, so like you actually get something like worthwhile for completing the dungeon, but they always have like a back exit where it's like, oh, okay, here's a door that was locked from the other side, but you just raise the bar and now you can go right out the front. Like easy peasy, like you don't have to go all the way through the dungeon again, which is what I hated about Oblivion. Because Oblivion, a lot of the times, like there wasn't an exit like that. You had to go all the way back through the way you came to get out.
And that's like, it could be a cliche too, like over time, like if they really do that for every single one, they could think of new ways to make you go through, like, okay, you go through and you get to the end, and then all of a sudden it starts flooding and you have to escape, and like maybe it gets you up to higher portions of the room and you go back a different way, but you're still kind of going back the same way.
Yeah.
They could think of new ways to make it. But I do enjoy like opening up that little hatch and being like, oh, I'm right at the beginning. Thank God. I don't have to walk through just like and walk over a bunch of dead bodies like real quick and just try to get out. But yeah, Skyrim definitely made it where you get rewarded at the end. A lot of times with like nice set pieces. Like that's one thing about Oblivion and Skyrim is that they look nice. So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of it is the set pieces too. That final room where there's a waterfall coming over a word wall.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
okay, that final room where it's like, oh, there's like a weird tree with a light with a sprig in with some butterflies. Okay, weird. Okay,
Yeah.
but that looks nice. It's like
Yeah.
kind of like takes you off guard and you're like, what's going on here? I think they should do more of that. And if hopefully the environment kind of is more varied in this one, and they can do those sorts of things.
That's what is one thing is that Skyrim, as for where it is, geographically, it's like half encased in ice. It's tundra.
It's like the top 30% is glacier, and then
Yeah.
the next 30% is like ice and snow, and then the bottom is kind of like
Tundra.
autumn tundra.
Yeah.
Siberia
Whiterun
type.
is like literally tundra. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like that's why I think my favorite area of the game is Falkreath, because it's like wooded, northern woods, like like
I like the Rift too.
kind-
It's like looks like autumn, or although I can't remember
No.
if that's the vanilla game or my mod
no,
version.
that's the vanilla game, and that's always where I go when I do my graphic up like mods. It's like Rift looks so good.
Yeah, stress test.
But I like Falkreath because it's kind of that like northern forest, but it's not tundra, where it's like like kind of like Washington State, Canada, like where Bigfoot might live, kind of area.
Squatch.
I like that kind of that area. Like it's nice. I always found it visually appealing.
I like in Oblivion. I like the Anvil kind of Gold Coast area. It's
Oh,
like
that's-
kind of
yeah.
coastal. It's like breezy. It's like there's lions out there. It's like you got the gold grass.
That
You
was
got
always-
the, like,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of that type of thing because Anvil, right? Is it
It's
Anvil?
it's kind of south.
Kind of south. of
Yeah,
that?
it's right
So
there.
like- yeah, so I think you might have some of that in the south, which will be cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
I want to see what they're going to do with the orcs. I have a feeling they're going to make the orcs a little bit more important this time around because I think in the lore, like I said before, Orsinium's like also within Hammerfell.
Yeah.
So it's like they're going to have their own section, I think, which is going to be really cool. And that's going to be different. They need some things to make the game different than the previous installments. And I think adding the orcs, maybe having some like more desert areas, sand puzzles, maybe. If it's going to be in a new engine, I bet the sand is going to look cool.
I don't think it's gonna be in a new engine.
No, isn't
That's what they
it's
said.
still a Gamebrya?
Still the old engine.
And
That's why a lot of people are worried.
And so is Starfield, or Starfield's make a new engine?
As far as I know, I'm pretty sure it's all the same,
It's all Gamebrya.
which is the 15-year-old engine.
Well, they better do something to make it good. I mean, you can't play games like Ghost of Tsushima and like a couple of new like games that came out recently and come out with the same engine as Skyrim.
Even something like Breath of the Wild.
Even something like Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild, it's like silky smooth.
Yeah, it's
They're gonna need to make something good.
they like I said, now that they have the capital, hopefully, but there's so many. There's every time you want to have hope, there's so many things where it's like, oh, it could be really bad. But before we delve anywhere negative, let's cut it off right there. It's been a pretty good episode, the longest one yet. Slime, as always, it's a pleasure having you on. Remember to leave a comment on any future game series or title you would like us to discuss. Leave a like. If you know it's that PC Master Race feel, you got to leave a like. And or if you're one of the plebeians who don't have a PC, you can leave a dislike. That's your prerogative. Always subscribe, stay tuned, stay notified. Slime, any last parting words?
Definitely build PC. Definitely mod game. Definitely Skyrim. I hope.
That was
I hope the next one is good.
that was very caveman of you. Build PC, mod game.
Build PC, mod game, play Skyrim, have fun. Subscribe to King Louis.
Use fire.
Use fire. Go to the Grey Sox.
Go and as always, you must go to the Grey Sox. Peace be with you, and have a great day.